and we got two very exciting topics today, near and dear to my heart. One is the modernization efforts that are really going on Army-wide, but our own Rugged Brigade, as well as the 20th, are playing very key roles in that. And so we've got Rugged 6 to talk to us, give us a little bit of an update on where we're at in some of their modernization efforts as part of this transformation in contact that we have ongoing. And then we've got Sergeant First Class Davis out of HRC is going to talk to us about the credentialing process. And I'm just telling you, if you're a captain, a battalion commander, a sergeant major, a platoon sergeant, you're going to want to listen to this because I learned an incredible amount about not only our accreditation program, but the things that are available that we can do now to help take care of soldiers, not only in increasing their sense of being as part of a profession, but taking care of them as soldiers for life and engineers for life. So two great topics that we're going to talk about. The way we'll do this is if you've got a question when the speakers, just type it in the chat. I'll try and moderate that a little bit. And then if we're at a pause, we'll ask those questions. I'm sure that all of you will have some great questions for the speakers tonight. But I do want to recognize our Commandant, Colonel Tim Hudson, and my Commandant, it's over to you, sir. Any opening comments from you?
Yes, sir. Thank you. And thanks for your energy to keep us all getting together and staying up to date with the latest what's going on across the regiment. I love this idea of the rally point. Just a couple notes. I'll turn over to Colonel Pritchard, and I really appreciate the Rugged team taking time this evening to share the latest on their developments and modernization efforts down at Fort Hood. Hey, just a couple of things on modernization and where we head as a regiment. I had the opportunity to sit down with General Graham a couple of days ago. In fact, I'm going to see him again early next week, particularly on this idea of our priorities for modernization and where we're going to invest going forward. Just want to share those briefly. And this is aligned with General Beck and the Combined Arms Center as well. So our top priority, his top priority, our regiment's top priority is autonomous breaching. So that's our number one for investment going forward. It was robotic. I think we're shifting to autonomous. I think robotics probably a stepping stone in that direction. I think we head robotically and then follow on with autonomous. So that's the top priority. The second one is terrain shaping. I think General Graham's comfortable with this. I'll just share that he's seeing an opportunity right now to potentially re-engage on some of our national policy for mine warfare, potentially even for anti-personnel mines in some capacity as well. So just looking at the lessons we're learning from around the world right now and the importance of the mine and its impact on maneuver and how we're able to shape the terrain using mines. And there's we're looking a little bit at the wording there. Colonel, I'll just say General Graham likes the idea of mine warfare, believes that resonates more quickly perhaps with our maneuver partners. There's other folks that believe maybe terrain shaping is the right language. We'll see how that settles out. Just know that discussion's happening. There are some initiatives taking place right now to shape the terrain that don't include mines, but they can still have a significant impact on enemy maneuver. So again, number one, autonomous breaching. Second investment is terrain shaping, looking at the volcano system and ways to utilize that, perhaps increase the self-destruct time to a little bit longer so it can provide longer lasting impacts there. And then the third priority is the bridging as the third. And really, General Graham and General Beck and the regiment, it's really a two-pronged approach to bridging. We've got to maintain our current bridges. We're not going to just. I think there's a level of frustration perhaps with some of our current bridging systems and the maintenance and readiness of those systems. We're not going to abandon those. We have to still maintain those. We're going to do a deep dive starting here at the schoolhouse with TACOM, just to look a little bit deeper on where the challenges are there with our current systems. And we're also going to invest in hopefully a common family of bridges at different MLCs to support our maneuver as we head mobile across the Army and across the regiment as well. I'll just share, I learned this week that there's going to be 7 IBCTs that'll be MBCTs. They're going quickly. They're going to transform to MBCTs this October. The rate of change is, certainly nothing I've seen in my time in the career, but even General Beck with 9 more years than I have has never seen change at this pace before. So 7 IBCTs to MBCTs this October, and then 7 more IBCTs July of 26 over to MBCTs. And so we're looking quickly and carefully at what does the KEC M look like. So we had KEC I's. We're going to make those KEC M's. There's strong belief and agreement across this belief that the engineers must be on the same platform as our maneuver counterparts. So that's those top 3 priorities. So breaching, train shaping, and then bridging, and then some of the general engineering equipment to follow, and industries making strides in that as well. Okay, that's longer than I had some other notes here, but that's longer than I intended to talk. I just want to share kind of the latest. I'll be at the Robotics Steering Committee with Futures Commandant Austin on Tuesday, and then up to Searle with ERDIC, an element of ERDIC there, and General Graham on Wednesday, looking at some of their modernization efforts as well. That's really exciting things that are taking place. Before I turn it over to Colonel Pritchard and team, sir, is it okay if I let the Regimental Command Sergeant Major introduce himself?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Sergeant Major Palmer.
What former retired general would stand in the way of that?
None, probably.
Okay,
So
good.
okay. He's at the house. He's at his house. He's got the dogs, and so hey, Sergeant Major Palmer, are you there? Can you want to just introduce yourself real quick?
Yes, sir. Can you see me and hear me now?
We got you.
All right. Hey, thank you, sir. And I want to echo a lot of what you said. Hey, the Engineer Regiment, it's great. It's a great time to be in the regiment. It's an honor and a privilege to be the 30th Regimental Command Sergeant Major. I would say, just like you said, the speed that we're changing, forums like this are going to become more and more important, and learn from people where we've had issues and where we can make it smoother. So part of my thing being here is looking at how we can get more people involved. I take a lot of the sergeant majors we've already talked about, some feedback, and how we can get more people involved, because everything is moving so fast. Changes are happening so fast. Forums like this will have to become more and more relevant in the future, or it is relevant more and more, almost maybe monthly, different forums to keep everything relevant of the speed that we're changing at, sir. But thank you for the time, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Sergeant Major. I appreciate it. And Tim, I look forward to seeing you when I come to pre-command course. And Sergeant Major Palmer, I'll try and get on your calendar when I'm there as well.
Yes, sir. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Okay. It goes without saying, Rugged 6, the mic is yours, sir.
Hey, appreciate it, sir. For Colonel Hudson, I'll see you on Tuesday. I'll be down there as well in Austin with Captain Young to highlight what we're doing as a continuation of Mars. So open this up. I've been in the seat less than 30 days now, so I brought all my experts with me to really flesh this thing out, describe kind of our learning journey here. But I got to credit Colonel Cox and Major Kirby, the prior S3 commander, as well as Captain Young, who's done a lot of the heavy lifting to get Mars off the ground. And you'll notice, for those that have been around the innovation forums, you'll notice a slight change in the name. Machine Assisted Rugged Sapper was the prior version. We changed it to Soldier because we're looking beyond just the sappers. But as the Commandant highlighted, we look at the gap too, and how do we solve that, as well as our general engineering challenges. But the guidance I've given the team as we brief what we're doing is, we can't wait for our maneuver teammates to tell us how to change. We as masters of our profession, we have to spark this change at our level, and we see a lot of opportunity at Fort Hood to be able to do that now and be indispensable at the time of need. as my Mike Cadigan will tell you, we are TIC adjacent. We are not a TIC unit. However, we are integrating with TIC units here at Fort Hood. So we have to be able to keep pace and inspire that. So we'll cover that today. And we've got some transitions. We're integrated with 1st Cav Division as we're looking towards our transition to be the 1st Cavalry Engineer Brigade in October of 26. So rediscovering what it means to be the Division Engineer Brigade, and how do we do that with getting sappers out of the breach, as well as our 12 Charlies out of the gap at the point of friction there. So some of the way ahead for us, we're going to highlight to senior leaders what we're going to do, as well as explore our pilot system with the 59th KEK. And I'll let the commander and our lieutenant, who's working really hard, highlight what we're doing. So happy to be on here, sir. Thanks for highlighting our capability. I'll turn it over to Mike Cadigan.
Hey, sir, team. Thanks for the ability to give the update tonight. Really, a lot of work is going in across the brigade on what we're doing, really across the division and the regiment. Thank you for the schoolhouse. Colonel Hudson, your team's been indispensable with getting us, keeping us apprised of what's happening, almost weekly, having touch points with Chris Morgan. So thank you for him, and also, I'm not sure if he's on, but thank you for always answering my phone call if I have a question on what's going on. With that, we could go to the next slide. Okay, so just for the agenda tonight, I'll be relatively quick. I really want to get to the company commander and give time to them of how they're task organizing and focusing on some of the lessons learned that they had from learning activity 2 and from the reactivate training event that they just got back from with Overland. But a quick agenda. So how we're supporting the TIC 2.0. And yes, I will always say we are adjacent to TIC 2.0. We are TIC adjacent. We are not technically a TIC 2.0 unit, but really everything we're doing is supporting TIC 2.0, and we are supporting TIC 2.0 brigade, and actually multiple brigades at this point with 1st Cavalry Division. We have a quick touch point with the complex obstacle. I know we talked in January what the concept was. I'll talk where we're at with that now. And then we had our Mars demonstration is going to be executed in October, and then after that, really I want to talk through what's next. So how do we take this to the next level, and what we're doing all the way through for the next 2 years as part of the 1st Cavalry Division Engineer Brigade moving forward, and then some of the partnerships that we're going through and to integrate with Iron Horse Brigade. And then we'll just close out with 59th KK, and then we'll go through some questions. But pending anything on the agenda, we'll go to the next slide. We'll talk through our glide path moving forward. So bottom line, and Colonel Pritchard already covered it, but the problem statement is there in the top. But bottom line, we were tasked from 3rd Armored Corps with creating an autonomous armored breach package that removes the soldier from the point of breach. We are taking that to the next level, and also and beyond. We're starting to talk about how do we get not just the explosive breach package, but how we're doing for bridging operations as well. Moving towards the timeline. So we're currently just completed learning activity 2, moving towards learning activity 3 here in the next month, and following up our breach demonstration that I discussed. And then really the end state here that we have is NTC 27-5, which will end up being a TIC 2.0 rotation in FY 27. But really to highlight learning activity 3, which is happening in the next month, is some of the technology that we're going to have on display here will be the DARPA Heavy Racer platform that we'll see pictures of in the future slides. Really, that's a autonomous track platform that tows a Miklik trailer. We have the DARPA Stallion that will provide obstacle intel, and then we'll have 2 UASs, TRV-150s that have smoke capability, and also the ability to reduce Dragon's Teeth or any obstacles remotely, and then Sky Raiders from the DEFCON team. And those are really to get after the obstacle intel that we have in our training area. And finally, we'll have 4 Caterpillar D7s that are teleoperated. 2 will be teleoperated about 600, 800 meters away from the point of breach. And then also we have satellite link operated that can go quite a distance away, miles away if we need to. So use those to also proof lanes, and then breach anti-tank ships that we have set up here in the training area. And the overall intent of learning activity 3 is to understand how all this equipment works together in a tight area, and mitigate some of the frequency issues that we potentially have, and then understand just to ensure that we have enough space in the electromagnetic spectrum that all this can work in close proximity as we support a maneuver formation into the breach. So as I said, we're going to execute this here at Fort Hood in Training Area 16, where we're building out the complex obstacle that has 3 obstacle belts of anti-tank ditch, dragon's teeth, and mines. And really what it looks very similar to what you'd see on the ground in Ukraine today. And then what's different from this learning activity that we're driving towards moving forward is integrating maneuver forces. So we will have a tank company from 28 Cav as part of this exercise. So they're going to provide the maneuver force, and then really that gives the 59th KK and those platoon leaders in that company the ability to integrate with maneuver and understand how they fight and how to best advise a maneuver commander of how we're going to execute this breach with our autonomous package. If there's any questions on learning activity 3, I'll stop. If not, I'll go through the rest of our glide path of how we're getting to NTC 27.5.
Hey, just a quick question from Colonel Hudson.
Yes, sir.
I'm curious about your dozers and their speed, and particularly if you're going to start some of them from quite a distance away. Are you working through that? Are you looking at another method to maneuver them and get them off of a trailer or something? Okay, go ahead. I know you're working through this.
We are working through it, sir. I think I'd probably defer to Jacob Nelson or Rocky Rispers of what their plans are. So what we did in learning activity 2 is they were on they're on a 870. They moved close to the breach. Because of the distance, really, that they're only effective, I think 500, 600 meters away. You do have to get pretty close. So I think for how we would use them would probably be improving anti-tank ditch lanes for obstacles that we've already breached. But certainly, to your point, sir, yes, we absolutely have to experiment with that and how to get those faster to ensure that the maneuver force can maintain tempo.
Great, thank you.
Rocky or Jacob, do you have anything?
Yes, sir. And I'll let Jacob also hit on this, but you're absolutely correct. That's definitely one thing we've been working through down here on the company levels. The dozer definitely moves significantly slower than the rest of the assets that we have. The biggest thing we saw from the dozers, and I know Jacob will talk on this, is we can control it from a distance as to line of sight, or as there's something obstructing that distance, we have to get closer. We haven't quite figured out the solution to that speed of the dozer yet, but as Major Cadigan remarked, at the moment, the main mission is using it to improve lanes until we can find a better solution.
Okay, thank you for that. Look forward to just staying in touch about this topic. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Understood. And yes, as we through our monthly updates, sir, we'll provide updates as we learn more about this and acknowledge the requirement. Okay, moving towards the demonstration in October. So we have a couple dates on there. They come out in flux over the past 72 hours. I think we've finally locked on to October 29th here at Fort Hood is when we're going to execute that. The intent of that is everything put together, supporting a tank company, Alpha 2A Cav, again, the same company that we're partnering with in Learning Activity 3, will be here in October. And really that is when we start the glide path moving forward towards NTC 27.5. And that is our full display of our package. It will have everything working together in October with everything as I mentioned above. And I'll throw we have a slide and 2 slides forward of some of the equipment that we have that we're partnering with, but we're partnering with Army Applications Lab, Lieutenant Colonel Rinaldi and his team, and providing 7 to 8 pieces of equipment that are going to augment our already Mars package. And really what we're going to do is we're integrating fully with, again, Alpha 2A Cav and all of their equipment that they're getting as part of TIC 2.0 and testing how does it interact with maneuver force at a more broad level. So we're going to do a force on force operation in February into March with platoon and company sticks. And that's also going to include the battalion headquarters for 2A Cav and 20th Engineer Battalion to give a little more high con to this. And then how do we synchronize more of a complex operation at the company level? And then I'll close with this slide as 27.5 is a TIC 2.0 rotation. So 1-1 cab iron horse is, the TIC 2.0 brigade. They are getting all of their equipment as of now. And really what this is going to be is a display of how the engineer battalion and the engineers support TIC 2.0 in the LISCO environment. And that's really what we're driving towards right now as part of the Mars program overall, is getting the 27.5 from a breach perspective. Pending any questions on this slide, I will go to the next one to give a quick update on the complex obstacle. Okay, nothing heard. Next slide, please. Okay, the last time we presented at Rally Point, again, it was in January of this year. I just want to give a quick update of where we're at now. So in January, I believe we were discussing that the contract was still going through the CAR process to get the plastic mines and the plastic dragon's teeth. And we're then still templating the anti-tank ditch and what the obstacle is going to be comprised of. So at this time, we have 3 distinct obstacle belts that all 3 of those have anti-tank ditch. We are currently constructed over 60 concrete dragon's teeth. You can see there in the bottom right picture there, both 3D printed that we use from ERDIC as part of Learning Activity 2. And then also we have a local contract that does 15 dragon's teeth a week. And there'll be 15 a week all the way through the middle of September. So at the end of the day, this will be when this obstacle is complete in October. When we execute that demonstration, we'll have over 350 concrete dragon's teeth split between obstacle belt 2 and 3 to augment the anti-tank ditches that are already there. And since then, the Corps has awarded the contracts for the mines and the dragon's teeth, the plastic mines and dragon's teeth. So we will have 10,000 plastic mines and 1,800 plastic dragon's teeth that will also augment our concrete dragon's teeth that are going to be out there, split between, again, obstacle belts 2 and 3. So really, we're not going to execute an explosive breach on the plastic. However, it will give a good picture with some of our intel assets, so that DARPA Stallion and then the UAS, the Sky Raider, to really understand what the obstacle looks like and best advise and maneuver in the engineer commanders of how best to breach this obstacle moving forward. So moving into October, it's really going to be a great opportunity to see on display of what that obstacle looks like when it's complete, and then how an autonomous breach formation is going to execute that operation. And bottom line, this is really supporting this Mars demonstration, but the ECC's got a lot out of this. Outside of NTC, when they support the maneuver companies, they don't get a lot of anti-tank ditch construction and vehicle fighting position construction, which they're also doing. And then our vertical engineers were able to work some concrete dragon's teeth and building those forms for that. So overall, great operation across the entire brigade that really was able to train on our wartime mission for counter mobility. Pending any question on this, I'll go to the next slide to highlight some of the equipment that we're getting with AAL. Okay. Nothing heard. Next slide. Okay, so what's next? So when we partner with Army Applications Lab and we really integrate as part of Iron Horse's train up for NTC 27.5, is we're getting the pieces of equipment that are on your screen. And I'm not going to go through all of them because I want to give some time to 59th KK to go through some of their learning activities. But I'll highlight a couple based off of the Commandant's discussion about terrain shaping or mine warfare. So the top left is IOTAI. And it has the ability to essentially for deception operations, or at least put decoy mines out there. And you could use the Overland Ultra in concert with this piece of equipment, and you could essentially remove soldiers from the deep fight, and you could conduct terrain shaping without soldiers in the deep, or you could get them closer to the fight. There's a lot of options there. I know they're not mines. However, there is the ability to potentially put decoy mines out there and mesh networks for the formation as they approach you. And the second piece of technology that I want to talk about is the Dragoon tech. So as it says there, it's a fixed wing one-way drone, and it has loitering time of 6 to 8 hours. So we see this used in a couple of ways. One, we can augment a maneuver formations fight where they could have the ability to strike a vehicle that's approaching It has the ability to, if you're going into a breach, has the ability to attack a fighting position that's there. And also what we're seeing, we're trying to use is if you could get these into a swarm, potentially use this as an aerial obstacle that moves with you. So this ability to have 6 to 8 hour loitering time enables you to provide the maneuver commander 68 hours as you move across the battlefield to potentially attack something as you see fit, or go air to air with UAS, or denies the ability for an enemy UAS or drone to attack you while you're conducting a breach or while you're conducting any sort of maneuver. Or conducting a defense. So we'll explore that over the next 2 years as we get to 27.5, but using that Dragoon tech, I think, will really give another idea to counter mobility in the aerial sense of how to defend ourselves from some of these drones that are not outside of what is already being fielded. Penny, any questions? I am done from the brigade's perspective. I would like to turn it over to 59th KK at this point, unless there's any questions. Nothing heard. Rocky, you're net.
Okay, sounds good, sir. Next slide, please. All right, good evening, team. Captain Risk Commander, 59th KK, one of the companies down here in 20th Engineer Battalion, 36th Engineer Brigade. Currently been commander for just under 30 days, so a lot of turnover, but super excited about what we have moving forward. Our company has been fortunate enough to be given this mission set to execute the tactical on-the-ground portion of the brigade's HMI efforts. And through the learning activities, different exercises, and demonstrations that we've executed so far, we've been able to get after and contribute towards the ultimate problem set of providing that autonomous breach packet and then removing soldiers from the breach, as Major Cadigan mentioned. Initially, when we were given this mission, we expected this to be a platoon effort. However, we quickly realized with the current pieces of equipment that we both have, as well as those augmented from our industry partners, the ability to command and control everything exceeded that, which could realistically be expected of a platoon leader. So now this has quickly evolved into a company effort, or I'd say like a company minus, which you can see on the displayed task board. We had to make some slight adjustments to our MTO and are still constantly adapting, considering one, our current capabilities, and then also two, obviously integrating into one CD in the very new future of first cav. But as you can see on the task board below, or displayed, first platoon for this mission is our main effort and breaching element augmented by Overland AI's DARPA Racer platform, and that has the MIGLIC trailer. Second platoon, we've kind of designated as our recon element augmented by the Sky Raider UAS platform. And then A&O is primarily our counter mobility element, as well as we mentioned earlier, our lane improvement augmented by Caterpillar's remote dozer or the D7 Romeo 2 Echo Hotel. And then as technology develops, allowing for better synchronization and communication among the different assets, we believe the personnel requirement can lessen to that of a platoon, but as it currently stands, that'd be a little difficult. And Lieutenant Nelson, who is my former A&O platoon leader and now XO, he'll touch on the deeper dive of some of the learning activities as well as some of the events that we've been doing with the industry partners, especially recently going to Yakima over there in Washington to work with Overland AI with our DARPA platform. Pending any questions, that's all I have from the company perspective.
Yeah,
Okay.
no questions for me, Rock.
Okay, sounds good, sir. With that being said, did you said you didn't have any questions, sir?
No, I've got none. I'm watching chat. We've got no questions.
Okay, sounds good. With that being said, I'll pass it on to my XO, Lieutenant Nelson.
Apologize. My webcam is not working, so gonna have to just take the voice for now. But can everyone hear me all right?
Yeah, Lieutenant Nelson, I got you fine.
Gotcha, sir. All right. Good evening, team, distinguished guests. Again, wanted to thank you for the opportunity to share all of our experiences and lessons learned, especially here, like right on the ground, executing these intents. If you could hit the slide for me. Thank you. So, as Major Cadigan and Captain Rispers got into our glide path, really where we started was back at PCC 5 at NTC, where I was on ground, and we got hands-on of a lot of different robotic things and really got a good idea of where the Army was heading in terms of engineer equipment and what was trying to get used, and the ideas were there. Learning Activity 1 here at home station, Fort Hood, we really sacrificed a lot of the tacticalness in order to get out there to TA-16 for the first time, and really look at all of the logistics of how this is going to work. Can we get these dozers out there? Are they going to be operable? How are we going to operate? How are we going to set up when we run these missions? A lot of recon element with that first learning activity. A lot of learning, like I said, sacrifice a little bit of tacticalness. When we went into learning activity 2 there, at the beginning of June, we really ramped up the tacticalness and said, okay, now we've got the what and the how. Let's go execute and see if we can really do this thing. We learned a lot of lessons, so I'll go into a few findings that from me at the platoon leader that I thought and OIC that I felt was pretty pertinent. So starting with the dozer, I know we had mentioned that before. Tactically, there at TA-16, it's a little rough carrying it on the low boy, but that's no different than 870 trailer missions as it goes. So no different than anything before. It can navigate the terrain. In terms of its operability, Captain Rispers was completely right with what he said, so I won't spend too much time on it. But it is definitely significantly more time consuming, even for just a one dozer breach. Anytime that we were in any sort of foliage or anytime out of line of sight, even 200, 300 meters away, there was cutouts with the connectivity. That could have been due to a various number of things. One of the NCOs that led that mission did go to the training up at Fort Leonard Wood, TDY. He was our SME on ground. So in terms of knowing what we were working with, those connectivity issues we're really leaning in towards to troubleshoot before learning activity 3 comes around. However, it did complete the breach. It completed the breach. Nowhere close to an experienced operator. I don't think anyone would have guessed that. However, it did complete the breach from a relative area of cover and concealment. Going into the Skyraider, really with this, I just wanted to hit on the battery life for that specific model. I'm tracking just from the other drones, recon drones that I've seen, which is limited, but out at NTC for Project Convergence and the ones that C5 ISR have had, really their biggest drawback is that battery life. You only get about 8 minutes. And when we're talking large scale combat operations, if you're going to deploy that from, say, your AA or any type of even a last cover and concealment, you're only getting a little snippet, then you got to turn back. I will say off of that, when it comes to a UAS capability, the amount of information that gives any type of breach commander is absolutely one of the most valuable things when it comes to doing a breach. So I would still use it even if it had half the battery life it still has, but it is something that could be made better. The last thing we want to hit on is there was a Miklik misfire. It was shot from our ABV. This is really not extremely correlated to anything that is next gen or modernization, but it was a key finding that was investigated by the schoolhouse that I got to sit in on with Captain Young and some other people to really dive deep into what happened. So really what had happened is the Miklik was a old lot number. It was a old piece of C4, and the continuity was green in the ABV, and when it lit, it popped the first C4. The C4 splattered and didn't ignite the rest of the line. From the schoolhouse and the people at Picatinny, the engineers there, they said it's very rare, but they have seen that before. So although, it was something of note for learning activity 2, I don't think we'll see it again. However, the chances are always still there, especially with older pieces of C4. I'll hold there for any questions from learning activity 2 before I touch real quick on our trip to Yakima Training Center.
Yeah, so hey, Jacob, there's a good question. As you guys have been putting hands on, at what point do you think that there's more equipment that we have saturated a soldier's ability, even from a distance, to really command and control all the things that this equipment? Because I know that we want to remove the breach. There's going to be, we want to remove soldiers from the breach, but there's also going to be a point of diminishing returns because somebody's going to say, well, then force structure can drop. Are you seeing that you still need a number of soldiers just to be able to command and control this, albeit from a cover and concealed position? Over.
Sir, that's a good question. So far, when it comes to teams like with the unmanned ground vehicle, and I mean, really, this goes for the Badger as well at PCC 5, but any type that's teleoperated, and same goes for the Dozer. I mean, you can see down there in the picture at the bottom right of the learning activity, there's a full set of team there looking at several different monitors, and those are all operators that would have been with that piece of equipment operating it. So I would say there hasn't been a heavy impact so far, especially when we did these in a tactical way, running these missions just as if we would with regular pieces of equipment. Really, we didn't have to pull anybody from somewhere else and sacrifice another line of effort in order to use some of this equipment. So, I mean, as we go, we only breached a couple obstacles. It's possible as we start looking towards this learning activity 3 and so on, and utilizing that full TA-16. I think it's definitely possible. We're going to have to start sacrificing some of those old ways and start putting them towards making sure we're good in the modern ways.
Yeah, and I've got a follow-up question. So, as you guys have experienced this, soldiers pretty comfortable, pretty quick on the uptake on, being able to operate this equipment, or does it require some extensive training?
So far, it's another great question. So far, any type of training that's had to happen, let's say for like the Sky Raider, those TDYs have not taken more than 4 days. Same with the robotic dozer, and that was complete for install, operation, troubleshooting, everything like that. And that's with the subject matter experts or the developers actually being there to teach. So no more than 4 days. I've also seen the Sky Raider people, for example, and the 12 Novembers teach this to our new soldiers, and with relative ease, and then I've seen them operate it. So although up until this point we've used the people we've trusted that have been trained professionally, I don't doubt that Next Man Up is already a viable option for us.
Okay. All right, good.
Hey, if I could just add on to General Watson's comment and question about just the amount of data information and number of soldiers to manage these systems. I just read an AAR from 1st Brigade 101st. They went to JRTC. I think they tried out like 60 different systems, some in the air, some on the ground, some different radios. And there's really they had two major themes across all those systems. The first was just the battery life, right? So they started culminating based on the ability to keep things charged. And then the second one was just the common operating picture, the user interface, just so much different data that is almost slowing down decision making by commanders. And so I'm curious, as you bring all these different systems together, their common operating picture, what your interface is, all different interfaces. You don't need to answer it now, but I'd be curious as you continue these learning objectives, what you find. And just it's similar to General Watson's question as well. We actually had a discussion today with Doc Alley about our KEC-Ms and our KEC-As, and I think there's a belief that several years from now, we'll need fewer soldiers because everything can be robotic, and one soldier can maybe control multiple systems, or the systems would be leader followers, so you could have fewer soldiers. But we're not convinced yet. We're not convinced that's the case. And so, certainly looking forward to gleaning your lessons and what you're seeing as you start to, do these different learning events, and you're integrating now with the maneuver. So I look forward to hearing your thoughts and help us inform where we're headed up here as well at the school. So thank you. Great. Appreciate that comment and question, sir.
Hey, Jacob, I'm gonna inject real quick. And sir, you bring up a good point. And one comment I do want to make is that after, and I know Jacob will touch on this a little more, but after we got back from the Yakima trip, talking to some of the soldiers that went to that training, one of the biggest comments that they made was like the ease slash like how much easier it was to operate than, and these were some of our like well-trained ABV operators slash ABV commanders. And that goes on what Jacob was talking in terms of like how easy it is to learn. So I think it comes down to the industry partner and the piece of technology and how easy they're making that in order to develop. So for example, when they went to Overland AI, I think that was super useful, not super hard to pick up, and honestly a lot easier to operate than compared to like a normal ABV versus other pieces of equipment where that may not be the case. But hey, Jacob, floor is yours.
Roger, sir. Yeah, that's a great question. A couple notes that I'll say just real quick about that. We mentioned before about the multiple systems talking to each other. And then one good point that Major Cadigan had was, okay, we have all of these different signals going off on different platforms. When we put them all together, is there going to be any type of a interference or anything like that? So these type of network questions were questions that I had before even stepping off to go to Project Convergence. One of my biggest RFIs that I wanted to know at the company level was okay, what are these things? What are all these different robots operating off of? Like, is it safe? Is it hackable? Is it jammable? Of course, at NTC for a regular rotation, we do all types of different drills even before going out to the box on like, hey, what happens when you get jammed for what we normally have? Like, do we have TTPs for if we get jammed for these other things? Like, what happens when they go down? And so that's something to keep in mind. The other thing is when we talk about having a like a talk or a rear area where we're controlling these things from, whether that be at commander's discretion, hindered by whatever the range of the systems are that we're using. But if we want the most command and control, we have some sort of hub where we have all of our electronics set up in a very deliberate manner, and that makes it a pretty scary target. So one of the questions that I have in the future is, sure, we can set up these tents and set up the generators and get everything running over maybe half a day or so, all of the systems, and then we'll be able to deploy out. But when we talk about a high value target like the ABV, for example, or a dozer out with an operator in it, that's at the breach. Let's say that unfortunately it gets taken out. We can send another one up, but the only thing we lost was that ABV and the operators. And so when we have our operators and our equipment, the things that send the signals all in one spot, especially in a realm of drone and missile warfare nowadays, that makes it you're putting all your eggs in one basket. So tactically, when we move forward, that's something that at the company level we're really going to have to start answering, because that's going to be a real problem going forward. But that's all I had on the HMI learning activity too. I know we're pushing time, so I'll hit real quick. On the Yakima Training Center, we sent about 16 combat engineers from the company out to where we had previously sent our MICLIC trailers, you can see in the picture on the right. And they got outfitted over some months to fit onto what Overland AI has been working on, which we can call the DARPA Racer. The DARPA Racer is an unmanned ground vehicle. It's tracked. It has a lot of torque. It can carry a lot of payload. It can really tow that thing with ease. It's really like a mini Bradley there, just running around the battlefield. It's semi-autonomous, so you can control it, of course, from the control station. But you can also set waypoints and have it decide where to go. Really what we did out there was we utilized it on mission, and we really just tried to bridge that gap between, okay, we got some operators that just last week were hopping in an ABV or in a Bradley with a MICLIC trailer, and we're throwing them into a control station and just seeing what the friction points are. So really just the biggest finding I had was how important it is to have a UGV in the coming IMTO, and how important it needs to be that it is cost effective, of course. Not to beat a dead horse that is the talk of any piece of equipment that comes out, but it needs to be cost effective enough that we can repeatedly send these things out with assets cheaply. It needs to be able to handle, you know, enough. It has to have enough torque to handle modern payloads and enough traversability for like the modern battlefield. Where it hits a curb, it's not just gonna, or it hits a wadi at NTC, or it hits anything like that it's not just going to break down. So that balance is really important in a satellite secured UGV. But pending any questions, those are two events that we've had recently, and those are some of our points at the company and platoon level that we thought were important to share. And we're very excited to build on those and some of these growing questions and growing points of interest as we execute more there out at TA-16 at Fort Hood. Over.
Yeah, so I'll open it up. So first of all, I've asked Sergeant First Class Jackson, I think we'll move the credentialing to the next rally point. And the reason is, I was so impressed with where we're going there. It deserves, I think people are gonna have lots of questions. I want to make sure that we deal with that thoroughly. And this too is, this is future of the regiment right here. And so I do want to allow people to ask some questions. So, Justin, have you got any final comments?
No, I think there's a lot that everybody's put in the chat here, and great points that we got to take a look at. How do we C2 this? How do we integrate that? I mean, this technology is one thing. Our biggest challenge is keeping pace in the communications with the TIC 2.0, because we are not receiving that same communication. So that's I think the brigade fight for us right now. And then we haven't even looked at this as far as slick, rainy, cold weather. I mean, that's battery life gets even worse. So we've got to look at the varying different conditions. And as we ramp this thing up, if we just adjust the conditions, that'll give us a lot more data.
Yeah, and I do have one question, particularly with the Commandant on. So if you were to lead turn right now, based on what you and Rocky are seeing, what Jacob's seeing, what Mike is seeing, what would we do right now in our BOLIC, Captain's Career Course, ALC, SLC, warrant officers that begin to get people to think differently? That doesn't mean we have to field the systems to the school, but to get them to think differently in a way that prepares them for where this is going. What are your thoughts there? And I'm glad I put you on the spot.
So you're not asking me, you're asking Justin, right? Colonel Pritchard?
I'm asking
Yeah.
Mike, I'm asking you, I'm asking, a recent Captain's Career Course graduate in Rocky.
Great.
What do we need to do? Because you got sergeant majors on here, you got the regimental, you got the commandant, and we have got to be thinking about this in terms of the leader development now to prepare people to think about employing these kinds of systems. I think it requires thinking differently.
I'll jump on this first and the team can follow. I mean, I'm just getting introduced to some of this equipment, but I really think innovation is not doing things differently, but doing the same, applying the same principles of warfare, just a different way. So being familiar with what the tools are, making sure we're clear about the operating environment and the conditions that faces, and how do we achieve the same effect in a different way and just account for it. So it's like, you talked about command and control. We talked about protection, all the breaching fundamentals. How do we do that in a way? And maybe it does differently with the technology. So just start applying the theory with the tech and just think creatively. How do we use this? What's different about this? Than what we currently have legacy? So I think it's more of that thought process of that integration of achieving the same, principle warfare, but just doing it differently. That's just off the hip there.
Okay.
Sir, if I can add something, please.
Yeah.
And sir, Lieutenant Nelson, great. I remember seeing you and your platoon out there at NTC as you walked me through. I think it's actually easier now to implement this technology, because when you look at a lot of the computers, the controllers, and everything these soldiers are using, this is what they grew up on: video games or their cell phones or their tablets. So the adjustment, I don't feel is as hard as we may think it is, but it's changing. It's getting that mindset. But then once they get that mindset, the equipment and the technology, the sources that they're using, watching Lieutenant Nelson's platoon out there at NTC at PCC 25, they picked it up in a few days and they were telling me all kinds of stuff. So I think the turn isn't as hard. It's just changing a mindset on just changing our warfare. But the equipment will be a little bit easier than what we think.
Okay. Rocky, any comments?
Yes, sir. So just recent, I'd say I went to Triple C about 2 years ago. Phenomenal. I had awesome group leaders, and the amount of material and the content that we went through there, I thought was very instrumental. But I think to answer your question, sir, in terms of like what could be done differently, I think adding problem sets that require innovative thinking. So, for example, we go through in Triple C, and I can only speak for Triple C and Bullock, just having gone through those. But like in Triple C, we have a defense section, we have an offense section, and then we have a GE section, so on and so forth. But possibly, like maybe during one of those offense sections, allowing the person, like when we're doing briefs / like when we're given mission sets for those op boards and coming up with solutions, requiring one, modern day like problem sets, and then two, like possible modern day solutions as well.
Yeah, and I think, what Rugged Six said is we have got to be firm in the fundamentals. We got to understand the principles of breach. We've got to understand the principles of engagement area development. The tools are going to be different. But I think that these tools also come with their own expanded capabilities that we probably haven't thought about, but they also have some limitations that we probably haven't thought about, that we've got to, I think we're going to be applying these principles in a little bit different way. And Commandant, I think there was a comment in here, I'll let you respond. How is it that we can at all of our courses, Captain's Career Course, Bullock, ALC, SLC, at least begin to expose folks to that this is what's coming. that there is this effort underway, because I think there's an excitement you can generate, but I also think you can get a professional dialogue about it.
Yes, sir. We agree 100% here at the schoolhouse, and appreciate the recommendations. And in fact, we have routine touch points with 36th and 20th and across the regiment on different modernization efforts. We have an opportunity here in a couple of days to link in with 1st Armor Division and 7th Engineer Brigade and Colonel Moulton out there. They have a real world engagement area development across a massive area that they're working on right now. And thankfully we have the opportunity to General Beck kind of pave the way for that and grease the skids for us to listen in and see what they're putting together. So, let me just, as we're learning, as we're getting updates from Ukraine and Gaza and other places, we tend to think, okay, we have this innovative solution, this new piece of technology, but as you mentioned, we got to continue to stay agile. You need to be thinking, it's like chess, like what's the next step beyond that? And we're already seeing that you saw that, in the counter IED fight, and that, those of us that spend time out in those, in Iraq and Afghanistan, but we're seeing the same thing in Ukraine. So, UASs, now they're jamming UASs, and now they're going to wired, quickly, they're going wired UASs, and different ways to apply some of the same technology, and then a counter move, and how do we even get further, further ahead? So that's one thing, is that you just got to continually be challenged in the way we approach and looking for opportunities to leverage technology, leverage the innovation of our soldiers, listen to those that are, working in our formations, and obviously these experiments that are occurring. We're learning so much, and appreciate the energy and efforts that the Rugged team's putting into this. And I think another piece too, and this is almost heresy to say on an engineer rally point, but we need to challenge things that we've always considered and things we love in the Engineer Regiment. Like we love the Miklik, right? Like that's how we get through minefield. We love Mikliks. They're really loud, 1,800 pounds of C4. They're great. But we need to be able to challenge things that we've grown up doing for decades, and that we love about, and maybe they're not the right solution.
Yeah.
Or maybe Miklik not the solution, anymore. And so I think same tactics, same principles that apply, but being willing to challenge the way we've done things for a long time. So I think this generation's really good at that, sort of, quite frankly. They always surprise me, the engagements I've had already with their ideas and the way they're approaching problems. So appreciate the challenge. Back to us and our team to stay relevant and make sure our team's staying relevant.
We got the right commandant to lead us down this path. And Justin, I'll give you the last word, and then Sergeant First Class Jackson, I'd like to give you just a minute to kind of intro what you want to talk about, because we're going to do this. We'll hold another rally point in close proximity, because I do think the topic that you're going to cover is very, very, very important. I'll let you get a little bit of a trailer. But over to Justin.
Hey, Brian, Rich Stevens here. Before you go to Rugged 6, could I just say something real quick?
Sure.
Hey, team, thanks so much for this. Hey, look, when Command Sergeant Major Frank Bush and I unfurled the 36th Engineer Brigade colors at Fort Hood back in 2006, I don't think any of us could have predicted the way that technology would drive the evolving character of war, right? Not even somebody as brilliant as Brian Watson, okay? We were just trying to figure out how can we look on the next, over the next intervisibility line. What you're doing here is critically important. And there is no finer engineer brigade, there is no finer brigade in our Army to accomplish this mission than the 36th. And so keep up the good work and stay rugged. Thanks. Over.
Rugged ancient.
Hey, sir, I appreciate it. We've got a lot of great legacy here and a huge opportunity that we're not going to squander. I think with these learning activities, what we owe the regiment is multiple white papers, some videos of what we learned so we could share with the schoolhouse. And two, I think the team, just if you've got ideas to share with us or something that you're seeing, or people you've talked to, you share it with our team so that we can introduce it. So we'll be as transparent as we can, but I like where we're headed. And beyond the breach, we got to look at the gap too. So we're going to energize the 62nd, as we've got our MRBCs, and so I think that's the next way ahead for us, is do a similar pilot here, make sure we've got some funding and some technology to support it, and then just challenge the tactics that will feed. We apply the doctrine, we put the new technology in, and then we refine the tactics and the doctrine that goes back into the way we fight. So, I mean, my big concern is just making sure we have support from the 3rd Armored Corps and our maneuver teammates, because if they care about what we're doing and we can highlight it, then we're relevant. But if it's just with us, then we're not gonna make it or make the difference we need. But great thanks to my team, the work that they've done. I'm proud to be a part of it, and we're ready to stay rugged.
Yeah, Justin, I would just tell you, just remind you, if you've got the article, I've got the magazine. 10 copies to every battalion across the regiment, all compost. Okay, before we sign off, Sergeant First Class Jackson, can you kind of give us a trailer on what's going to come this next time when we're going to talk about credentialing and the apprenticeship program and all that?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity to get out here and share this information with all of our soldiers and within our regiment. It's an absolute honor to sit in this seat. I love this job. I get to do a lot of cool things and talk to a lot of cool people. What I'm going to be talking about are just the programs that I run, which is the IDC program, the US MAPS program, and then I also help with the credentialing assistance and tuition assistance as well. These programs, they provide opportunities for our soldiers to be more military technical experts, and it also takes care of the soldiers getting out of the Army as well. So helping them to secure that meaningful employment on the outside, which is not only we're taking care of our uniform, but we're also taking care of the person that's wearing the uniform. And I look forward to briefing and giving all this information out across the regiment. Thanks, sir.
Yeah, and Sergeant First Class Jackson, like I said, I was blown away by how far this has come. And I will redouble my efforts to make sure that we got commanders and command sergeant majors plugged in to listen to you. And I'll tentatively set it for about 2 weeks from now. We'll do another one that's off cycle because I think it's a hot topic. But we'll make sure we get on your calendar and we'll do another rally point. So thanks for hanging with us. This was an important topic, but I'm looking forward to the discussion we have when we talk about credentialing and also, the apprenticeship program, which it blows me away how far we are. So thank you so much for that. Okay, my Commandant, final word, sir.
Sir, nothing else. Great discussion. Appreciate the 36 team weighing in, sir. Appreciate being a catalyst to bring us all together. So, séance.
Okay, and so for my team, let's go ahead and we'll put out on the registration slate for a rally point in 2 weeks. We won't need to do the rehearsals. We've already done that with Sergeant First Class Jackson, and we'll just check her calendar and make sure of her availability. Okay, have a great night. Thanks again. My thanks to the 36. Stay rugged.